I'm not sure. Maybe you know, maybe
what's going on here?
Okay. Please. Dollar number chibe joy no bar chibe
they
ge
had him on a full screen.
tam jin
Okay,
parde
just give me a second.
je ba tam chi je zo chibe ma nam ga dang nyam be sem chen tam chi de wa dang de dong ar dang je la na me bara yang ta bara zo be chang ju ren bo chi to bara cha da la dang bara chi be ja no bara chi be ge dar wa dang tam chi war tu ju bara chi ba sam je zo chi be ma nam ka dang Ambe sem chen tam je de wa dang den dung ara dang che nyor de la na me bara yang ta bara zo be chang cho ren bo che to bara cha.
All mother sentient beings, especially those enemies who hate me, obstructors who harm me, and those who create obstacles on my path to liberation and omniscience, may they experience happiness, be separated from suffering, and swiftly will I establish them in the state of unsurpassed, perfect, complete, and
All
precious.
mother sentient beings, especially those enemies who hate me, obstructors who harm me, and those who create obstacles on my path to liberation and omniscience, may they experience happiness, be separated from suffering, and swiftly will I establish them in the state of unsurpassed, perfect, complete, and precious Buddhahood.
Ti chi tu sang ma chi je war de dong a yi ge wa la ko ma shi war de dong a yi so ge wa la ko a tu de ren ne song de nye ma song da sam je war de dong a yi so ge wa la ko.
Thus, until I achieve enlightenment, I perform virtuous deeds with body, speech, and mind. Until death, I perform virtuous deeds with body, speech, and mind. From now until this time tomorrow, I perform virtuous deeds with body, speech, and mind.
Sanje chodan soje chonan la chancho partu dane jasun che da ke jin so jin be so nam che andro la penche sanje andro ba sho sanje chodan soje chonan la Chancho partu dani japsun che da ke jin so jin be onan che ro la pen che san je ro ba sho.
In the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha most excellent, I take refuge until enlightenment is reached. By the merit of generosity and other good deeds, may I attain Buddhahood for the sake of all sentient beings.
Ma nam ka dan nyam be sem chen tam che de wa dan de we ju dan den bara ra jo ra je du ma dan du ma ke ju dan che wa ra jo ra je du ma me be de wa dan me je wa ra jo ra je nye re cha dan ni dan che ve dan yo la ne bara cho ra je ne ma nam ka dan nyam be sem chen tam chi de va dan de be je an de bara cho ra je do ma ke do ma ke ju dan che bara je Dharma maybe Devadam Med Jorajam Shadam Cheve Tanyo La Neba Choraje.
May all Mother Sentient beings, boundless of sky, have happiness and the causes of happiness. May they be liberated from suffering and the causes of suffering. May they never be separated from the happiness that is free from sorrow. May they rest in equanimity, free from attachment and aversion.
Jam Denji to me zan ne jian zhao hui dong song yong la xiao zur mi jia de wa du ji chang pan ji tian gong bu xia lan bu yu tu da du zam ji chu le me xin ji luo xue tu ji jian Nâng kê mân bà xê nê chang xem trò trê sơ đô bà rà chín jê lô.
Whatever merit I've gathered through prostration, right? Yeah. Unequaled refuge, ornament of the world. Your fame pervades the 3,000 worlds. You are the victor, Vajradhara, without a doubt. I bow at the feet of the Father, Jidon Sengong. Continually, I think of no one but you. Compassionate one, grant your blessings. Dispel the darkness that surrounds my heart. Please bless me so that I may realize the unelaborated nature of mind.
Sa xie bo chu chok xin me to zhang zhi zha neng jie de jian ban de san jie shen la me de pu wa yi en zhou ku nam da shen tu ju ba xiu.
The ground is sprinkled with scented water and strewn with flowers. It is adorned with Meru, the supreme mountain, the 4 continents, and the sun and moon. As a Buddha field, I offer it. May all sentient beings attain the happiness of the Buddha field.
Om Guru Deva Dra Gene Rana Mera La Pardenza So Ha Sem Chen Nam Je Zamba Zang Alo Ye Che Ra Che Da Wa Che Chung Tu Mon Ti Kwa Ye 说见过了过特所。
Please turn the wheel of the Dharma of the 2 vehicles and their combination according to their dispositions and likewise the mental capacities of sentient beings.
我们给图解小节在顺从现前麦多对接中央被在这通报的我的级别个小节加入小拉长在老多间情况的罗那罗汤满麦桃或跑准几片工各地顺带在为那面在就那么一等求中了所罗完的所到就情节了得对了在中汤满面在忙往前吧咱台小节做估计到你年面人前这看什么工小拉去讲在good morning 但呢，俺做他会去一个，知道吧？同时些地方的话，就说是。
Well, good morning, and we start our teachings on the 4 Dharmas of Gampopa. It's actually a commentary, and it's called a commentary that illuminates the meaning of those 4 Dharmas.
我真的这趟这看中公看这趟他会去这帮咱们的有的他会去些是根本别中下去些有的话他这帮咱们的可些多的这看中公这话这么多挺难了的这把同时些地图的这他然后基本的这有的做修的路线这期这先把这样这把对派见多我这期但这把呢这什么可能的这下来这做这大体有办的这多少真的 这人通了，这是真不的，人也是有办的不？我提出了学下去是吧？我真的他会去也是。
단나 그냥 깨 괜찮고 자서 깨 고문도 그건 알 wait I don't hear anything. Can anybody hear me? Yeah, I cannot hear Dupan. Dupan. Very echoey.
这些点率呢，
Oh, Dupan.
这些
Hello.
我点率呢，
Can Dupan hear me?
这些我的，咱这把同时现这把它同时我同大的是我有把它了，这把同时现在那个的是
Dupan, hello.
啊，
Lagi code.
多
Kalau tanah ke sama mewah chatam.
可以
Ini
讲着都是的，
ini ngati kyang ko. Oleh ngata na kyang ko masang. Tini di chitin sumgen tini di skiba tani di skiba re parta mata tini mewah chasang.
这你忙不来的都是，
Tini ngati kyang ko mendo
哎
konso
呀，为什么？
ta mewah chasang. Tini ngati kalo la tini kyang ko mendo.
这里嘛，更多看了，
Tanah ko do.
他可能呗。
Tanah ko do. That's
他
fine.
对，这当对，他不出去是，他不是的设计没的哇，设计没去，真的龙巴体没，他不是你就干不办了，干不办是那这热体没的，他那干不是他这光把加设计，他不龙巴自己热体了哇，我这干不那是我这这去真的，那出去是那出些有哇，出是着哇，出浪是着哇，浪出啊是吧？出啊一些是吃哇，是他的些去。 那这把这今天中午，你当这把咱们的忙不但那么咱们这把有的，我听到今天中午这把是我们的话听到了，但这把同时些，我听到了的，同时同大是我有把我听，马上学下去。
So the four dharmas of Gampopa. So it's a teaching by Gampopa. So the Tibetan name for Gampopa, okay, is Dakpo Rinpoche. And so Dakpo is actually a place name. It's the Dakpo Hills. It's like a hilly area where Gampopa started the monastery. So it's the kind of the Gampopa Hills or Dakpo Hills. And so then the four dharmas of Gampopa are a prayer. Grant you blessings that my mind turn toward the Dharma. Then may it progress, may that Dharma progress along the path. May that path clarify confusion, and may that confusion dawn as wisdom. So these are the four dharmas, and there are many different commentaries on the four dharmas. Many different lamas have written commentaries. And Jigten Sumgön himself had written 3 commentaries on the four dharmas, longer and shorter versions. And this particular one, the commentary called Clarifying the Meaning of the Four Dharmas, is more on the longer side. So it's a bit of a longer commentary. And so Rupan says that this is the commentary I will use for these teachings. So.
今天我们说的是在推送周围讲过秋季节，是推送周围讲过秋季。我们说的是大家来学的嘛，是吧？我今天的推送是那对吧？那么他在推送周围讲过，是吧？生前他们就家庭工作晓得了。秋季节是他秋季的泡沫出吧，学啥的工，他秋季是啥的秋季节是，他前几天做的桌面他前几天桌面做一件事，他的那几天他们就去做很多不得了，是桌面现在的在那很多不得。
So then the text begins with Swasti. So Swasti are words of auspiciousness or goodness. And then it starts with La. Tanda kodok. Oh, tane ko yo mari.
되네. 되게 주섬 저에 좀秋季节 是吧? 다들 lap송. 다前几天做一种呢，现在做很多不得了是。看你们差别往球上播起噻，那咱看你们能看到你们把它插话清楚。就当中国泡沫吃吧，它这个就难了，这个就 这电把世界瓦的钱，他可能不是电把世界瓦的钱，中国泡沫出把差的个，我这样对这中国泡沫出把这，看见插话情况有的是，各种土来可别抢起了，各种土可别他抢起个意思，这抢起里头呢，他这确保的就办这么起，那个可能那个说求救设计有的，求救的钱呢，这做电球的钱他们就要的，偏托有的是钱他们就要。
Not finished.
Mm.
Like sometimes, okay, I think they're not finished. Yeah. Okay. So starting with Amsvasti, which is auspiciousness, and then the first verse is an homage to the Guru Pamodrupa. It's written by Chikden Sumgun. And so it starts with Dharma Lord. So with Dharma Lord, he refers to Pamodrupa. Dharma Lord, protector of all beings in the three times, so the past, present, and future. You are the crown jewel in this world, and you are the precious Lord that pervades all reaches of space. I prostrate respectfully to your enlightened body, speech, and mind. So that is the verse, the opening verse of homage, and that is customary. It is the authors usually start with these words of homage, and the significance of that is that by starting with homage, then whatever follows afterwards, the commentary will be endowed with blessings.
那提及了他在中巴他们家吧是的，他中巴他们家吧的了求等吧，他或者不去，投机让你求现这吧去是我的，求是呢他这样是求就本来阿的下有了，我本来阿的下这个当巴的蛮久的了是啦，求等吧是的，这当他求这强求咱们就准备中了吧，我强求咱们中中，但咱们两中其他才不求些。我真的当吧，他Gampopa他常不插把起，他高档把了插把起，然后高档把弄插把起有的，我天就这高档被当嘛，上嘛有真的高档被开，当把的了，他不人不去开，头一样呢，球现这把起，是我当球现成这个意思，我在中把他们家吧，我当几天中我在中把他们家吧，这了，中把他们家吧，其那的知道他把拍儿起特别了，这是偏头有的也是。
And then the next verse is a commitment to complete the composition of this commentary. And so that begins with, I will write down these 4 dharmas, which are the heart essence of the holy, the precious Dakpo teachings and the instructions of Lord Atisha. So Atisha, because Gampopa also possesses the lineage of the Kadampas at that time, and so he received the instructions from Lord Atisha, and mainly the Lamrim instructions, the torch on the path to enlightenment. Because in the beginning, Gampopa, when he first became a monk, he became a monk under the Kadampa lineage. So he possesses all of the Kadampa teachings. And so he says whatever he had learned from all these instructions that he had received, he will these will now be written down. So as Chikden Sumgen says, I will write them down as I have heard them from the Guru. So the reason why he takes a commitment to complete the composition is because that kind of clears away any kind of hindrances to the completion of this composition.
真的在那推送上节参加就我去了，那嘛人不去呢，真的推送上节参加我去了，那嘛人不去的，这泡沫出来总票啥，就讲说嘛，这泡沫对那边上节，忙我边上节，在他上节参加去我是去的嘞，那公司为了嘛，这泡沫出来，这里这些提前呢，当地的种的也种票啥。
And then Chikden Sumgen goes on to say that these are all teachings spoken by the Lama who who embodies all the Buddhas of the three times. And so here he's referring to his own guru, Pagmutupa.
tene ta tuba zobe sanje jumden de tuba zobe sanje jumden de song be chu bo ta je chi tong yo da ga rang ran su ta che ji pung bo je chi tong so dor du na la mar mo shi gambo be chu shin da la man du ba yo ma re sa gambo be chu she zen du do re so ma ta我当我做南边县的，南边南边把新单的嘞，这趟他可能不去给，南边他不他今有的话，他后去南边俺学中的，我别去张票的南边俺学他不他今的那个吧，我听你长桥南中学呀，请他上面个话这，他不他今去，他对呢南边咱得差的了，这南边自己是开清不，他南边把新州样，俺说你们俩去要了，这趟子打完通不，这两做来忙不有的，听到了这。所以我在当我做研究的唐唐出的过去的，在研究唐唐出说明那就这样他把系统个嘛的意思，就是么来的个在种多空的，他也做办的家在青多小的几率，这两多研究唐唐里面出的，别想着想呢，咱别图pas个，听到农民呢。这看什么程度的是，等着我的看呢，这干了，我说他说菜。这通卡起那超过什么不？真的俺家看，真的让人家多把起，伢多让这一起我一人大多把起，现在嘛切数起，我听着去了对的着，面老头听着我听着强着的种多，我听对俺那做的研究的头呢，他说开起不写下呢，真的提纲他那节点的做人，我他说光他呢，真的也不是啥的意思。
Champa din num me na kare.
咱别图个这个了。
Tupa, okay.
听到这农民那还是什么也看什么菜都个的是。
Oh,
这
no.
中国什么不懂个的是，好别听到也的是，他在求他那研究民呢，真的说说俺家可怕，真的要的俺家可怕不，真的想让了想他比较多，想了嘛他就没，我切说起，我才就去个的是。我听另外做的这是研究是他那是的都可以进步的是。
And so then Pippin Somgren in the commentary then says that so the Buddha had taught 84,000 Dharma teachings, and all of these teachings are contained in here. There is no teaching not contained. And so no teaching that is not contained in the four Dharmas of Gampopa. And so as such, so now not in the commentary, but so being this, being kind of the essence of all the teachings, it becomes like a lamrim, like a graduated stages of the paths teaching. And actually there's many different lamrim teachings actually, and Gampopa's jewel ornament of liberation was in one of the earliest lamrim teachings in Tibet. And then there's many other lamrim teachings like the torch on a path to enlightenment. And they're very important teachings because they take us from the real basis, from the foundation and to the result. And so there are many very advanced teachings like deity practices, visualizations, and completion stage, and so on. But really what's very important is that we also have some renunciation and the pure perception. Because if you have no renunciation or pure perception, you cannot practice the Dharma genuinely. Now, Milarepa once said this in response to someone during a debate, and someone challenged him. And so he said that if you a Dharma practice that lacks renunciation and pure perception is like drinking a tsampa, not tupa. It's like a soup. So tsampa is like a barley flour. So Tibetans drink a barley flour soup, right? So tsampa soup is like drinking tsampa soup that doesn't have any oil in it. So apparently, if you drink tsampa soup that doesn't have oil in it, what happens is that the roof of your mouth will burn. So I guess you need the oil to lubricate so it doesn't burn. If you have no oil, it will burn. And also it will give you some gas, so it kind of bloat you. And why he said that is because, first of all, if you have no renunciation and faith, you burn yourself. And then secondly, you become all puffed up, being bloated. So you become puffed up with pride, and then you praise yourself and think, I know it best, and you're looking down on everybody else. And then this is how your Dharma becomes toxic. So therefore, it's important that we base all of our Dharma practice on devotion, on faith, and the pure perception. That's all.
전에 다 추스 들어와. 다 가르쳐 추슈고 추스 들어와서. 랑랑서 다 추在지나 추양 타봐. 저지 미시죠 말했어. 추스 들어와. 我在秋浪头过，秋送啊，浪头他们写就嘛是，在浪头过，在浪这样出来有的是出来的怕死过的是，但出来一些吃的啊，这咱秋能把这些送的送的话的呢。
And then the commentary continues. And so, therefore, first, our mind has to turn toward the Dharma. And so it's that's the first requirement. Even if we practice, our mind may not be turned toward the Dharma. So we have to make sure the mind is actually turned toward the Dharma. And then even if it is turned toward the Dharma may not become the correct path. And even if it is the correct path, it may be filled with confusion. And so that confusion must be turned into wisdom.
真的，他出去泡沫出来些呢，是他泡沫出来，真的种的，秋什么着的，开始是那是他秋什么着啊，开始是这点把也从这也是今天能把秋能把几从出来，一定是。那这点起，但我说秋在起用了，这点起的那的秋是养他吧，但在那个叫在从那么的说的话，在西南天的呢，但他说上街特别搞了个过来是天的，今天秋季在可能起呢，在这点起的今年什么的。 气头在秋是气用呢，或者秋天养他们着头个嘛的是，因嘛，各他们这些在有是节约是就有是吧？各他们这些节约，或者从近大钱不就有啥的？那近大这个当然这起码做的一些大家没是空，但呢这起码是一些家没，年头大家在其让近大去啊，那时候在俺让给完这些啊，这样的气头意思，可是这起码是就有呢，对俺大家通。 大家穷，可能真正我们大众他是可以，这你要话说的，这出家时的、连开时的，这是俺差不多的嘛，没把说东西在哪里是？这那对这些钱说，但就要我的是因呢，可能那啥的时候不呢，他不就让那啥的，从前拖多，但从前真正我们的家都是特别把这说的，真的你要把这个说下的是那个日子哪里是？这那对这个什么上对他的人吧都怎么可能这个？ more true is.
And so then the commentary says, so why, as a Pagmodrupa said, Lord Pagmodrupa said, why is it that our mind does not turn toward the Dharma to begin with? The reason why our mind does not turn toward the Dharma is because we are more interested in the 8 worldly concerns, in the happiness of this life. This is what interests us the most. And that's why our mind never truly turns toward the Dharma, even if we practice the Dharma. There still, of course, is some temporary merit from that, but it will not lead to ultimate enlightenment. There's the story about Karamba Geshe, his name was Chau, and he had a very big sponsor. And this sponsor told him that I don't really believe in a next life, but I really want to help you. I like you and I want to help you. And it's for this life. I'm doing it just for the benefit of this life, really. I don't believe in a future life. If there is a future life, then I will just go on my horse with my knife in my hand, and I'll go to hell and will just kill the Lord of the henchmen of hell there, and then they're gone. I don't have to go there. So then the geisha said, like, you're a good person, but you have some sickness. And so he said that if you first take care of that, if you turn your knife toward that sickness first, then it will be much easier to deal with hell later on. And so that's what made that donor consider, and he thought that, well, maybe he is right. And so that's where his path started. So,
哦，真的，我在等几天去能把几通的，也是金巴东啊是，那金巴是当然这个年轻人什现的给没给长中，用个的什么呢？哦，真的，真的杨那个现的去，这一般的金巴 party 当然错了啊，这个花钱蛮不容易。哦，这出现什么呢？在哪里？我这头发、三把、光把上嘛，这当俺前提就你把全部用给的，这怕这期间呢，杨那个头发要过去，三把要过，这等几天在这，你把要过，用给的上提溜去呢，我等几天出这的，是等几天出这才的是，等几天出，这你他们的是的话的，杨金把东出现，马上呢杨呢，这你把用给的上，我等几天出这的是，我等几天出这步子。我等几天去这个我等几天你没你写的，几天去你的小学材料的也没你写。我等对等几天去写的开始呢，他这别确这点呢，他就怕去学的，每年的这社会去是在起用的，别动啊忙不有的，他每年的，但你把这个用个嘛的上，他你把的老汤不的。那你把这用个嘛的，咱们去东岸用的，样的先把这个在抢着就咱们东岸，过到东岸面这个，经过那样他把这些用个嘛的，现在去学了多少的，对对对，样他把是嘛的用学的。
And so then the commentary goes into these 8 worldly concerns. And so the first one that he speaks about is that they come in pairs. So there's 4 groups of 2. And the first one is this hope for a good reputation and the fear of a bad reputation. So even if I practice the paramitas like being generous, if I'm generous with hopes of gaining a good reputation from that, or getting anything in return for that, it's not a pure, genuine act of generosity. Or if you give something with the fear of maybe a bad reputation if you don't give, then it's also not a pure generosity. And the same goes for the other paramitas like discipline, ethical discipline. If you are disciplined just for a good reputation or out of fear of a bad reputation, then it's not authentic discipline. And so when we think about it, when we want to have a good reputation, and even though we think that's something good to have, actually it only causes you a lot of suffering. It's very stressful. You're always hoping that you will have a good reputation, somebody will think good of you, and this is really actually tormenting your mind. And if you have this kind of motive that drives you in whatever you do, then whatever good you do will not really become genuine.
Oh, then yang da jin ba da cui chen dong wa qi ba na da ang te da jin ban da mo le na zo cha hua qian bo yong ge de zang ya da te ma jin na cha hua yong ge ma de cha hua qian bo yong qi zong wa qi ba na da cha hua qian bo da mei nian da qian bo yong ge de zang ang jin ba la so de ma jin na cha hua yong ge ma de zang wa te da me da wa me ga wa nyam de wa dan ji kan chu ji na chu ni ba de da te wa chu xin dao cha hu sa ba.
Then what follows in a commentary is quite similar. So it goes through the different examples of those 8 worldly concerns. So if you, so for example, if you practice generosity with hopes for a good reputation or fear of having a bad reputation, it's not authentic. Or if you practice it because you hope to be praised or you fear of being criticized, it's also not pure. Or if you do it in order to gain something or out of fear of losing something, it's not authentic. Or if you do it just with hopes for some pleasure or fear of pain, it's not authentic. And so the same then goes for generosity or any of the other perfections or other good things that you do. So that is then those 8 worldly concerns, which is why the mind doesn't turn toward the Dharma.
真的样的金巴的出现中啊，就是马金那打了对吧？对吧？我去呢，对吧？用个来上，对马金对吧？用个马来上，我他去呢，干没给看出去了哇？我这几栋马金呢没干，我娘把提吧没干的出去，是我当今天出的啊，我他妈他老想几块的我了，就当可能没用的我这几块的大概是呢，
Sama logo.
啊，
Sama logo. Di partura.
这今天出去可是的话是吧？没干到的，今天出去是的吧？
So then, just so for the sake of completeness, so the commentary is a bit repetitive, but we go through it. So then you apply the same for ethical discipline, for example. So if you practice it with hopes of gaining some pleasure or fear of experiencing pain, then it's not authentic. Or if you do it, then the same goes for generosity and the other paramitas. So if you do anything good with hopes for getting something good out of it yourself, or out of fear that something bad will happen if you don't do it, then it's not authentic.
这里让他打金巴东嘛，出现中嘛，他头上工作就是去呢，多把钱不用过来上。那时候听上他就蛮不有的，就当在说在听着金巴东呀，在全班不一样，然后在起用那在每年他在钱不用啊，听着去啊，听上蛮不有的往那说。我这是请求让他把是这个嘛的是，我真的都那个完全看出这是，我真的让在马金那没个吧，没用的是，我这是出这的是没个完全看出的。 我这当天就点上忙不用的话，别讲这些，那他开始是别讲是没吸收了这给我是起用呢，他怕是我重把这起送，我说他买进这啥买的上呢，没种给在没看场的看那个没种给他要不我们都工作得起马送，做那边的咱们怎么弄的这起啊，他给我这当家亲不起效的，家亲不起效的，咱把归拢的那把他把什么天天学着什么办的工作，这趟他我做没好去别家那学了哇的。 我在其里挺注用的，我听上。
你知道你是的可能知道？
没在使用呢。他给我在家全部使用呢。他可能重了，忙不有了啊，本家让我那没忙不有了啊。他多年慢慢对系里，他给我在家全部使用，他哪些在去过样的是。可是呢，他没经常在没用在拉红的怎么弄的，真的是当不他给我的去呀，他就用的啊。这种我呢，现在给我就我本就忙不在当学的，他这个。 给我哪把茶把谁？听着呀，这是个来可不多，可是呢，不管我提纲了，可是确实呢，但在在身边找汤的这个托嘛托这个，他说那么大给我一米，他还会要去这么多。别讲这些，那中原那在国多国呀，中的都国的，别都忙不过那都用着钱不过给的，他说，我听着国在其用多，但没在别讲的都谈多的是个国文，谈多都是别忙不过，谈多人不多啊。 我这他是在国内啊，工作谈到在国，咱我做谈到在马国这个嘛的啊，提当年嘛，谈到这些工作给我要不起嘛，提自己的这么去的，我谈到在用多啊，哦，他说的看咱这多工作，我谈到查上的要不要嘛的给我使用。
And then it says in the commentary, so. And then he speaks about praise and blame. And so it says, whatever you do, if you practice generosity or discipline and so on, or you learn the teachings, you hear the teachings, you reflect on them, you meditate, you practice the teachings, whatever you do. If you do it so that someone praises you, it's not authentic. Or if you do it out of fear that someone may criticize you for not doing it, it's also not authentic. And so that's actually now out of the commentary again. So that's something that happens quite a lot nowadays, that we practice the Dharma, we are generous, so we make offerings and so on. but we do it because we want that recognition. We want others to recognize us for it, or we want to be praised for that. And it is good to do that, but it's also not authentic. It's always good to give something, but it's not authentic Dharma if you have that motivation. Or for example, and that's not just in Tibetan kind of cultural example. So in Tibet, for example, when someone someone has died, they may have done a lot of the person who has died may have left behind some wealth and have had some virtuous intentions for that wealth. For example, there's this tradition that maybe they want to spend some of their wealth on printing a certain number of sutras, which it becomes quite a lot because, for example, the Great Liberation Sutra is usually what they do when someone passes, and that's actually quite long, so that becomes quite costly. But then, so the family and friends who are left behind, maybe they don't really want to spend it on that, but they kind of feel like they have to because it wouldn't look good if they would use it for something else. This is what they have meant to do with it, so they're doing it. But so then it's not an entirely pure motivation if that's not really comes from their heart. If they don't really sincerely want to do that they just do it because if they don't, then someone else may have an opinion about it or criticize them for it. So it's still a good thing to do, but also it's not a completely pure motivation. So.
真的是到了咱今天秋季报这类是，你那搞吧当，茶那搞吧，你那搞吧，多吧搞吧，熊多下的意思。嘛你那没搞吧当，嘛茶那没搞吧，对吧没搞吧，嘛对那没搞吧当，米那搞没搞吧，是不？这适当的意思。我当多下适当你用，那这对木这东西起来我个意思，可能就空这对木差的有了。但多下适当这样，这对木没那接头嘛吧？对木听嘛来吧，听这样送对，真的多下适当恰当接不个吧？我听对对木这里手的差的有了意思，我听对。我当今天秋节不说多留意呢，多下些当对某种的有嘛的意思。
And then in the commentary, it summarizes again those 8 worldly concerns. So it lists them. So the 8 worldly concerns are hope for pleasure and hope for gain, hope for praise, and hope for good reputation. These 4 kinds of hope are essentially attachment. And then the other 4 are fear of pain, fear of loss, fear of criticism, and fear of bad reputation. And these 4 are essentially hatred or aversion. And attachment and hatred all arise out of ignorance. So it's because the mind is obscured by ignorance that we develop these thoughts of attachment and hatred. So in brief, we can say that the essence of the 8 worldly concerns are ignorance, attachment, and hatred.
北宋呀，
Dixon?
我当多人都讲，今天秋节不是过年浪呢，他节气讲的那个礼拜课，在这多下些他对某上面对真的没个人我掐着个的是，他没个是呢，他这样在他话他们前面恐怕是 top 个嘛的，啊，你看说他们第30个人给我起的，听到这他们前面恐怕在 top 就个嘛的，嘛的是中国某路着可是中国生呢。 多下些当对某种特起来的没个意思，我但多下些当对某特了记得了，这但没个意思，马下些当对某没特起来的给我一种的意思。
And then the commentary says that any virtue or anything that you do, that comes from motivation of the 8 worldly concerns belongs to the non-virtuous category. And so now what this means is that so if you do something good, but with the motivation of the 8 worldly concerns, temporarily there is some merit in that, but it will ultimately not lead to enlightenment. And then in the commentary, Nagarjuna had said that Anything you do with attachment, hatred, and ignorance is called non-virtuous. Anything that you do with detachment, no hatred, and no ignorance is virtuous.
但呢，就是没来这边去，俺妈他中多。但今天出去些，空的空，超过别讲的没超过，卡拉嘛不啥呢？他超过哪的了？就有呢？听对了什么？他们嘛不在这呢？别看老红个这是，他那些的空，今天出去没口啊，咱们给听对差不多中多空。
Milarepa said about the 8 worldly concerns is that when I hear about the 8 worldly concerns, I feel like someone who has eaten a lot of food is completely full, and then somebody else dishes them up more, puts more in front of me. So it makes me nauseated. I can't see any more food. So this is how I feel when I hear just the name of the 8 worldly concerns.
但呢，咱公布了这老公跑配子，公布了这新成的，他可是几天前吧，你一趟没你一趟是，但几天前吧，人在工作也当时这结果得去上班去，他说我这拉说几天他叫我上班钱的了，我这两几天前吧是，你一趟没你他几天出去不是了，查趟没查趟，这趟没得，这趟没得。但查趟嘛查趟，这趟没得趟是，都没接近几天出去不打开有没变过年做，说他都把他没把这几天打开有没变过年做，但几天出去不是穷呢，是吧？嘛穷呢没干完没吧，嘛穷呢干完没吧，我他这个都恰当恰当的没吧，他也有经过年过的年把它做送多。
And then again, Nagarjuna said in a letter to a friend, is that these 8 worldly concerns, hope for pleasure and fear of pain, hope for gain and fear of loss, hope for praise and fear of criticism, hope for good reputation and fear of bad reputation, all these concerns should become the same. So meaning that you don't like one more than the other, whether it's praise or blame, fear or loss, it all should become the same.
但其实没来这个，马边送些菜可些说了，听到可能是你一趟过的长度呢，都就可能都就可能去头送是，但你把它过的长度是说都可能去头的是送是马边这种多。
And Marbam said to Milarepa, also in relation to that, no, the hopes of gain and fear of loss and thoughts of jealousy, these are like the mind states of a demon, like demonic mind states.
真的，他其实他确实没着呗，上班的哪里？但俺说上班的这，但是确从多跟上班上眼的哪里？我说上班上不，他们去做做过的，上班人把他们帮过的，我的这其实真的上班的哪里不是？他上班每样人呢，东北的一个领导什么每样接过的是，他上班上班强求先来说吧，先记呢，说上班上班这期呢，真的contribute 了。真的也不凶过的，是别瞧他，每样肯定每样穷下的。我但是上班在桥当没什么来说，第上班建议呢，这个乱打上班，但上班头一呢，东北的一个上班头一这个的是，这是。
And so then continuing in the commentary, it says that whether or not your mind will turn toward the Dharma depends only on your motivation. Motivation is like the root of a tree. And if the root of a tree is medicinal, then the tree or its branches and leaves will be medicinal. But if the root of a tree is poisonous, then the tree and the branches and the leaves will all become poisonous.
真的，别想了，想说什么就归浪呢？这另外一种可能，经常他们就给我的是， 어떤 장초 셈때는 통화 개발했어. 그거는 그 인센티 그거나 다 맞서마 개발이 비치서 어떤 개발했어. 그 상제 좀 되는데 된주 송으로서 단 전배 생존 나서와. 완전 배 생존 나 통화 파탄 타르 개발 제거라. 어떤 장초 셈지 그거나 통화 개발 바르 개발 된 대비 상제 남게 대송으로서 개발했어. 대송으로서 대 망원 상제 남장 대송 그랬어. 다들 상제 성마라 제 장초 셈때는 저 상제를我这上节阳太阳它才种出来是，我种多才见没成就那才出来是。
Anything you do with body, speech, and mind that comes from a motivation of bodhicitta is virtuous. And for this reason, bodhicitta is virtuous in the beginning, in the middle, and in the end. And then it is said in the Manjushri Namasangiti, it's a text called Chanting the Names of Manjushri. It says that bodhicitta is virtuous in the beginning, in the middle, and in the end. It is virtuous in the beginning, meaning the past Buddhas. The past Buddhas all became. This is what all the past Buddhas have taught. This is what will turn all with bodhicitta into the future Buddhas. And this is how the present Buddhas attain complete enlightenment. The Buddha taught this again and again. So this is a quote from the Manjushri Namasangiti.
那他那就是门着吧，今天节不把些意思，我的身体通知你吧。因为是他就是门着的，看的是那今天节怎么当呢？这其中那那的养他吧是，top 嘛的，是我天的身体通过那你要这里是，我这里是他的了，对噻，
And so therefore, the first Dharma is that the reason why the mind does not turn towards the Dharma is because of the 8 worldly concerns. And that in essence means the being only interested in the concerns of this very life. And then even if one practices the Dharma will not become authentic.
那他这六天年报是看的广播是，但是我说这样的吃法切啥的，这样的吃法切从头在成都吃了口的。这就没来这边，这样的那么太杂呢，七八用上没有的，没都是七八用上没都的，七八他看来运动，然后这种有了的，这就没能过呢。我这我说还可以嘛的是。
And then next is it says what then is the antidote to that. So I'm now coming out of the commentary again. So basically we have too much attachment to this life that we live in right now. And Milarepa also said that because the perception of this life is so strong, you don't think about death, or you put it off and you think that it will come slowly later sometime. You don't think it's coming anytime soon. And so we cannot think of it. We cannot understand the imminence of death.
他我说后边这有的没几期你上头是，那么这一盘小头没在线头，四小头没在线头，我说那边打这个有的，这可能上头都给的。我说需要的，好像其他成一个嘛的，我天天我说这成来起个说，他成来起呢，我说这研究去解决的，这天叫没有普通操把拖不得了，这那宁波人拖不得，我说，我天天在宁波人，我在娘们去投票，成就用个的，我天天基本没他这地是开钱包的，基本没他过没来路都来家什么来的，基本没他这过没来路去都家那个的是。我从头天天听俺那说第什么当我学的，这千万没他说在身边上班的有的，但身边以上上班的有的，俺那说，我在这一天但是身边起码得写个嘛，俺说没得说了，得这样头嘛，俺希望有吧，就这样头嘛，我这样嘛到对对，你这些都是啥的，就没谁这个吧，这都就有嘛的，他当俺说买些别那看了的是。但是说的没上坡在上班上坡期，强调现在是解压期，给我找团队去特别呢。但那个说没些去这样，俺没些开始呢去特年节了哇，我这样的是开钱不有的是。
So what we do, Ruben says that now also in Tibet, for example, this is how it is, but also here. So when we hear about people die all the time, we hear this person died, that person died, and we can say that quite easily. I can say, oh, that he died, she died. But we don't really think about that actually I could be next, that will die. We don't think that it could be me very soon. I'm also going to die. So it's important to think about that, because when we think about that, when we remember that, then we develop some renunciation. And if you have some renunciation, you will be able to make something meaningful out of this precious human existence that you now have. You will be able to use this life to do some practice. That's why it's so important to think about the impermanence of life. Milarepa said that this thought is what will conquer your laziness. So it's important to think about it, because it applies to every being. Everyone's life is impermanent. And we can't really, so other beings in other realms can't really think much about it. But as human beings, we actually have an ability to conceive that, to think of that. But even as humans, we don't really actually do it. But then once we are actually dying, then it's too late to do something. So it's better to take the time now when we still can, when we are still alive, and use that time to practice, to cultivate bodhicitta, to practice virtue, to practice the Dharma as much as we can, because we are humans now, and that gives us the ability to do anything that we want, really. That is why it's good to use this time to practice. So.
我真的，他让前几天的那有人没都从多听了，我这让前几天的有人不得一个嘛的，他我让说，他车人说在前面来听他讲说，都加拉斯，托病，这加拉斯托那，他这好像给我这边他说你不写他有嘛的，他提讲他那我让说，有嘛了老爷来上，这里你怕有嘛的，这他弄他车人说给钱什么当了吧？ 这通常都是节操啥些个的，可以可不能，俺们可不能写的挺有了吧？我听讲那些开，他应该做在罗尼在让他们讲写的，但他们在可能有嘛，写中也把有嘛吧？我听都的挺有的，我听都俺那说他在，他在你们俩的地系统，你去你们不穷人不去送这些。 去做你钱呢？你去过的，钱呢？钱去过的，啥干子都有嘛的，可就成现在这里把钱想这个是，我可是说给我 drop 他们了，其他们要过的，咱有人不得要推出有嘛，我看他说，结果是我但结果的是啊，这么过来全都有嘛的，他身边身上呢，结果要加他们掐啥的，这边能把的这边大意，那这边能把的这边大点啥的，我唐不这边那好了，但上你这样一把的大点啥的是。 这边拿不了，这边大意思。这外派意思，我在外派前头个什么，马些的设定呢？他全都有嘛的，所以那上级就点的那在滚山毕竟忙不接，因些拉票的。我的有的他滚了，现在上坡送去到北京上坡街去点的，所有的真的，过他妈他所以那个咱去口头上有嘛的，这个两个这个去点有的。我真的在他就是没来的怕拉说吧，他这个你嘛出钱忙不接有的，我就说上嘛了，他这。 그 지금 다 세대한 거예요. 나랑 좀 그런 거 진짜 재미 그 니에도 살아 표로 아니도. 재미 그 니에도 다 표로. 나 이제는 노대사 통화요 말이. 나 용도 인도 허드나. 어떻게돼? 어떤 게 파트 책. 그런 거 진짜 치와 미 그 니에도 나고로 안 알아서. 니나 이제는 통화요 말 같다. 어떤 뭐 시민하다 치와 미나 양대 거리나면 이제는 노도사요 말이. 어떻게 되네? 어떤 나이 단 지금 그 레스 추는 말에 손에.
And so therefore, we should think that the commentary says, I do not have much time in this world, and then Rupan said that. So at the most, someone may live around 100 years, maybe. But then, even if you live 100 years, for most of that time, like most of those years, we don't actually totally practice virtue or the Dharma. And then as we get older, it gets harder to practice the Dharma. And that's the longest. But then many people die way before that. Some people even die as soon as they're born, or when they're still in the belly of their mothers, in the womb of their mothers. Or some die when they're like 20 years old, maybe in a fire. There's no order to it of when one dies. It's life, the lifespan is totally uncertain. So therefore now is really the time to practice. Pachong Rinpoche also said that there is no time of when should I practice the Dharma. If you can practice it during the day, then practice it then. If you can practice it at night, practice it at night. So there is no like time of when should I practice the Dharma or how much. You do it as much as you can, because you do not have much time in this world. We all need to die, and that is one certainty. With 100% certainty, everyone will die. Even the great masters, like the Buddha himself, the Buddha who possessed the 32 major and the 80 minor marks of an enlightened being, eventually he also displayed nirvana, and his physical form passed away. And all of the other great masters like Milarepa and so on, all showed us the impermanence of life. Or Guru Rinpoche, who was said to have attained a state of immortality, his body is nowhere to be seen. We can't see him in this world. He also displayed impermanence. So there's no one in physical form who is able to stay. So.
근데 매도반 치 스타트리 매도반 치 세나 그래 다체 트레인 땅도 키워마 다 게지 이제 바바바바바 보는데 세 레인 소당야 춘을코 다 말하래 배송도 칼송어서나 축구 노르클로 사미스 당에 노른 마보디스 춘왕아 세디스 레인 땅로치 세 바우레 칸제 사미스 바우레 칸제 사미스 바우 인생 송자 키도真正 키도 탑도사요 말이스 자메 제메르 치치 사미스 단 제마 나마 야고버레 제나 틸루치 고포 땅도사 요 말이스 전에 가래 담메 파도 치사미스 담메 파도 치사다 뭐 로호 메레제타 마 초원도지나 초도서 주는 요 말이스 담메 파도 치사미스 님중 교환 부사미스 어때는 뭐 님중제 이 다등한 일레가 같이 도마 디스가 도저로 세련 땅로지나 저 땅도사 요 말이스 어때는 케페 로주 쫓사미스 뭐 케파 게자 요시는 케파제 당에 그때 나한테 다다케에 투소래 아무도 스케치하니 뭐 가시나 예 해야요 말이스 송도와 어떻단다 모레다 마도 바스 cheers.
And then the next point is that we cannot turn it around. So we cannot like run away from death. Milarepa had said that when death arrives, when the Lord of Death arrives, there's no turning back. There's no running away from it. He said even a rich person cannot buy themselves out of it. There is no place for a kind of a hero, a soldier, kind of not a soldier, but like a kind of brave person with a weapon to strike their sword and fight themselves out of it. There is no beautiful woman who can talk herself or seduce herself out of it, no matter how beautiful you are. There is no coward that can run away from it, thinking that I don't want to go yet. I'm going to hide somewhere. There's no place to hide, no place to run. There is no like kind of a scholarly person who can talk themselves out of it. No, but trying to persuade the Lord of Death not to take me. So there's no cheater that can kind of trick themselves out of it. There is no way to hide from it, no way to run away from death. So.
전에 다 녀르치 세테로와 어떤 요르 치스리아다 나도 계제 라나 남지 체조로 쇼리 알아서 배제를 마 레자나 추파바 나지레 소그로와 어떤 내 조로 그래 나도 뒤도 조선은 거시라 소만와 변송라 지는 나랑다 섬다 아메리칸 나래는 유령 본로 산도 이만 가서 제 나라를 포북 중경 튼 상마다 대상도 니시자랑 세대를 쇼 어떻게 차리는 와 어떻게 되는 소소소다 로카시 제고 그리 차다데 그런 거시라 소쇼마다 在今我做可对些工作所说嘛，这很差的我，我俺那说这说你要是多学的，你要是多学吧，这还好学嘛的意思。
And next, the commentary says, we will die quickly. So regarding that, Ruben says, so life passes by very quickly, just like a waterfall rushing down a mountain. But we don't think about it. But all of a sudden, time goes so fast. We don't know where time goes. Suddenly, here we are. For example, and I think about myself. It's been so many years that I first came to America, and here I am. All of a sudden, time just flew by. I don't know where time has gone. When I first came here, and I met some people's children, they were little infants, and now they're like 20 years old already. They're all grown up. Time goes so fast, and I don't know when I'm going to die. It's completely uncertain. It could be any time. So
我在没多半，其实他在空中他在学生这个级，他都个嘛的，他现在个那种的，都要嘛了他在机关中的他，对呢，推嘛这吧，其实那个推出要嘛的他，别想着是那他，推出这个还可能我是的话，他推出还全个嘛的他，亚当啊的是呀推出这所想的所要嘛的他。 所以逻辑嘛，实际他逻辑头上嘛，推出那在说在那说的嘛的，然后那个俺现在就那他推出说的要嘛个，推出这两三提前都个意思，安保嘛出，安保嘛出现那他推荐啥的，这个咱们这安保提在讲话来说的，也不起码拖把这个推出热心热些的两个的了，我咱推出强都个意思。
เป็นละมีกี่มาทองนะดู
我大可以没可以看把讲，这这个南方才知道，然后这么这用个了哇。所以说，哎呀，在哪啥马家那些这样，甚至哪啥没些军队那啥民呐这些这样的有的话，这是别家讲了讲我们来说，好像都票嘛的，这啦或些南方现这样多。
And then next it says, we will not stay, we will die. So we already mentioned that before. And then next it says, we can die. So it literally says we will die. We can die when our I say our sense powers just leave us. So meaning that we may die just for no reason, really. It's like all of a sudden there may be an accident just walking along the road, and then we die, even though we are not actually sick or anything like that. So we can't know the timing of our death. If we would have some idea, okay, this is when it's going to happen, then it would be okay. So we could all prepare for it, but we don't know that, and also we cannot therefore extend it. Just like making an extension to our life, we can't do that. It can happen at any time, like tripping on the road without being sick before, like it happened to myself, and then that's it. So we don't know. Even if you're not sick, we can just die.
真的特别没去听米，上没去你把米说的，特别上课的呢，没去了你把看呀，要嘛的也送多。
And it says then in the text, there is no guarantee that you won't die today.
真的老朋习惯来写的，我这俺做龙宫这的话，跟像你们讲这龙宫这样的话，龙宫呢习惯来做的你嘛是我是但对吧？那么些写的那他对多这是当多。
Did kare?
对吧？那
Man kan sen kare.
这习惯来写多，习惯来写呢写多。我这习惯来从他对你嘛从是吧？
Oh.
对吧？但见到龙宫这的，你没别下头龙这种三四我写他没得听多啊。我对龙对空中这的话，他是咋说的话？
Mhm.
long kong zi do nam shi se di na la ten jin do sta do nam yo ma li chung chi do
Oh, no do.
di do nam shi zo di na do se ma sang bong do zo di na ten do se ta zo na gan jo na ten do se di na da
Ana tinang na marwa.
de xi ba le song ten ni ma song da do da de
Mhm.
但你能喜欢的送写这种的种多，
Mhm.
我真的上站去吧，所以其实这上进期水期有嘛，这人你的对的，其他的钱在打去一般没有，我的这人你对的，那里看快要嘛的是其他的些，但其他的些，但这有了的，然后但早就年的在那学啥的，其他的些呢，我等我都出国嘛的是，但出国人那就爱你不出国的，你嘛开始我开始当老去的那，这当嘛的是。
And so then the text says that there is a quote by Shanti Deva, but the commentary doesn't actually mention that quote. So apparently it comes from a text. It's written in a text called the Exposition of the Vinaya, is the name of a text. And but Dr. couldn't locate that text, and so therefore, well, sometimes it's the case that in Tibetan commentaries, it's kind of a reference to a quote, but then it's not really actually clear what kind of quote it is. So, anyways, there was this quote that was referring to, what's it, Dua Namshia. Yeah. So it was a quote. Just yeah. So it's like it's a 100-page text. Like it's apparently printed in Dergi or something. And anyways, he couldn't find it. So this text. So there's something called a discernment or exposition of the Vinaya that just clarifies the meaning of this. But anyways, so then the text continues. So that the Lord of Death, the Lord of Death is not your friend. So when the Lord of Death comes, you cannot negotiate like you could maybe with a friend and say that give me some more time and come a little bit later. It won't work. There's no negotiating with the Lord of Death.
但是他这个意见作为建议，让设计当的去设没用的去设头就往去把的意思。他什么的，我就什么的课题，但我从作为建议来过了啊，但作为建议真的这个，你呢，他什么都在上面，上真的什么没办法做，现在人都有的是没办法，现在有几多他跟我说，有这个的，我这什么没办法写的是，去吧，那呢，其实没办法说那种的。 没关系，谁没有啊？是他谁去嘛头，但是真的忙不有的，看他在说的，他这要不是不忙就嘛头不起，我真的他现在有点有的，我这谁头穷啊？那谁什么子明白了恰送的，这人专门的去头穷的，写送的真的有的是，他天天有了哇，这种所谓这样的，这样上咱们推荐就的，我说，但基本这是蛮差的，基本这这样是蛮差的，送别这样是用的，送我这样的这就强着说的是。 这科学呢，起码样把没啥科学呢，然后这写的有的时候，但有那确实吧，过去那当的，这我多少没这些什么，这就有啥吧，我现在写过意见，主要被科想的，起码从那么的起码样把的没事，安他他妈进这个汤包子蛋这个的，过去说的起码样把，说不行那是土老药来说呢，我东西要嘛吧，土老我东。
아니 골라도 오.
어디 보던 사요? 뭐 대신 돈 아fen 주고스. 아.
So then next it says there are so few causes that sustain our life, and many more causes or conditions that can lead to our death. And sometimes even those conditions that are supposed to sustain our life actually lead to our death. For example, food or clothing even can lead to our death. So food, for example, even if it's food that's supposed to sustain my life, sometimes we die from eating certain food, or for example, we choke on a good food and then we die, or we can't really digest the food and then we die, or we eat some spoiled food that is toxic and then we die. There's so many ways, even that life-sustaining conditions can lead to our death. And then it says even clothing can lead to our death. For example, if you wear it the wrong way and you kind of pull it over your head, then you can't breathe, and then you die. So anything that's actually supposed to be good for you could lead to your death. So there are not many things that are purely life-sustaining. There's many more things that can lead to our death.
哦，但是谁给你做呗？可想这是什么做不了的，这什么的可了。这说是今天人家说新做吧，提起呀提起，但那个忙不起下去，那个是起用的，那么就我现在新着呀，别家从时间从那么就我新着呀有的。我那个可能呢，今天忙不就有听到，但是接着要有的，我真接着也是。留了可没这样穷样解释。我在穷这穷呢，常常年看人家从那个提醒着个多。你忙个做好了不？吃忙开些送，吃忙穷等这些收送的，些送的有的那个。可是吃忙穷没有嘛？那个但去外见在去上那这些着他留啥的哇？但是在当啊咱们去在穷在去送那去边呢？这样他妈就是康阳没，是我等去边嘛就是康阳有嘛的送多。
And then in order for us to acquire food and clothing, there's a lot of things that we have to do. We have to work, like do business and things like that. And then all these things that we do to acquire that food and clothing can also lead to our death. For example, a business deal may not work out, and that may lead to your death, or anything else that you do when you work could lead to your death. Or, for example, a wound as small as a needle poke can lead to your death. Happens, for example, in Tibet, if you poke yourself, very small puncture, but it may get infected, and then you die. So the slightest injury, just as small as a little kind of piece of grass, for example, that can lead to your death if kind of it touches you the wrong way.
哦，但是去外见嘛，就是把康阳没事。今天的呢，有人都被疼死了样没事吧？但今天的呢，有人不多呀，零岁岁，可加哈，但俺那说人送的人多，人那他怎么才有人不得个嘞？怎么打到个？俺那说，晓得打到个嘞。因那俺那说我呢在怎么要不错在打在期间呢？俺说他个有人不多，特别是零岁加去那要嘛的，可是俺说说不那个，咱在可还拉过在，可是现在这样去来了，我在可差不多那康阳有嘛哇？我这样这有的没对这呢，这样嘛我在这样来了我学吃的个是呀，这等于说康阳有嘛的是。
And so it says that in a commentary, anyone can encounter a condition of death at any time. There is no one in this world who has any guarantee that they will live for a long time. So now we are distracted, and that is why we don't really think about it, that we're going to die. And so we generally think that we're going to live for much longer. If we really think about it more carefully, we actually find that it's not so sure. There's nothing that guarantees our long life. And that is because we have a body, and that alone is, is so vulnerable that the body can be destroyed at any time. Any condition very easily can kill this body. So the body is actually not that resilient. It can be destroyed very easily.
哦，你嘛，俺这个问题吃完这个了，是这个问题有了。 我吃饭去了，空当这种体质点卡先了，突出有了。我点卡先几天总共在在其他进步，他了但如果是两个眼送米送有多少？他经常说被忙不得漂亮，但马他啥的经常没差的挺重要的，打不掉了的，他那时候忙死才 Q 多。陪着你妈的时候，你说的加的漂亮，用口的，忙的特别的漂亮。对下个吃饭的看了先，那但我做肉腾就来红的是。那肉腾来红的开始的是，那吃饭从嘛在我娃在错，在没那么错，破娃家才吃错的。我说的这肉这个哈，我这喜红的，这吃饭是做什么呢？我让他去娃有点什么，怎么学他当头苦嘛的是，还会过了怎么的不可嘛的是去呢？我那天他怎么要不在当我让写点多少噻？我听着怎么去当头什么东西？我这种多。
And there was a monk from Til, and so he said something about this. There's this charnel ground, like a cemetery in Tibet. It's a Denchu charnel ground, and it said it's a charnel ground, a place that was blessed by Jigten Sumgön, and it is said that any dead body that goes there, that person will not go to the 3 lower realms. And nowadays, a lot of dead bodies are brought there because it's kind of close to Lhasa, and now we have those roads. It's easy to get there. So a lot of people bring the bodies of their loved ones there. And at least 2 or 3 bodies every day, they arrive at that charnel ground. And so that monk said that there's all these dead bodies coming in every day. And then all of us monks and go there and we do a ceremony together, do different prayers, we practice poa and so on for that deceased person. And all of us monks sitting here together, but probably none of them actually thinks this could be me, I'm going to die. They just think about doing those prayers and that ceremony, but they don't think about that's actually that could be me. I'm also going to die.
我的这种体的电卡是的过了的是这效果，这种忙起突入了不着，这种体的电卡了个，电卡是了，这开始是呢，今天总共到老马等着忙不接的，开始在那把脚上上拍到前做，我听上脚上脚外上呀，我在脚上在那拍这种体爬是去讲他那要这，在那拍但今天总共其实老马知道出他的电在多，这开始去家了送的20了，老把听着可以，开始在那种听着够行。可惜今天总共2天，这可惜在出趟站没得点多，这点对今天总共老马在年内人前查设计有的，年内人前查，我年内人前查，他出大点样穷没多空，你对在今天总共他你问着人多空，晓得，光出大点样嘛，就对在我才问着谁，这光冲是多，这冲送对在那。那冲送的在国外，那他吃过的都出国的嘛？呀呢，在那吃过，在那八卦子吃过噻，在那吃过啥都什么多，呀在那八卦子嘛茶呢，八卦子嘛多呢，在吃过在学啥的，小在对，前面吃过八卦子，没八卦变差不多了哇，在吃过啥都么多。然后怕从家这边从家去的找什么多，从他这种子呀呢，群众的口感嘛，但今天总共去，真的。我从他条件没起，他条件没起，人前查是真的。我说这种，我这种车队真的把这些好的真从前找学啥的，这车队的光看哪了？光的包括哪什么人才看多，人才他光出趟中天啥的，这人才看的，这人才他抢没抢是吧？抢没抢的点抢是点人才的点是吧？这抢没抢的点抢是，我在这的，这你看什么？他忙把那个。使用它的元素没意思，我但其他我做后的肉嘛是吃过这种的是吧
？And so I just will tell you a bit about that charnel ground that is mentioned in Triguntil. So it's called Denchak, which kind of means kind of unbreakable, like solid and unbreakable. And so that's really no one really calls it a charnel ground there. They call it just this Denchak, basically. And so the way it got this name is when Jigten Sumgön was alive. So he had many different disciples who who were quite advanced practitioners. And so one time they were all together with Jigten Sumgön. They were kind of going around in the area, and then they each kind of displayed some signs of accomplishment, those disciples. And so some, for example, will go to India miraculously and then bring back a medicinal plant, a rural plant, and some would manifest as the form of the deity, or someone else would dissolve into Jigten Sumgön's heart, and so on. And then there was one disciple, his name was Nyene Rinchen Chak, and he was a quite close disciple to Jigten Sumgön, but he wasn't able to display any signs of accomplishment. And because he was the only one not able to do that, he felt very embarrassed. And so that maybe he felt so embarrassed and so terrible that he actually died. And so in a Tibetan tradition, when somebody dies, you offer the body to the vultures. But so they can't just eat the whole body, because the human skin apparently is a bit thick. So normally then we cut up the body to make it easier for them to eat. And then they tried to cut up this Rinchen Chak, this disciples, this dead body, but it couldn't cut it. It was like so tough, his skin. And then Jigten Sumgön sang this song, and he said, "Don't be so hard. Don't be so hard, and you're so hard, Rinchen Chak. Like soften up." And then the knife would go straight through, and the skin could be broken and cut. And what they found when they cut the skin is the inside of his skin was filled with relic pearls. And that then became his sign of accomplishment. And so that's how he got the name, like unbreakable, impenetrable. So this like this tough skin. So tough, also so tough because it was filled with these pearls, with these relics. So that's how it got the name Denchak, the kind of solid, unbreakable on the charnel ground. And at that time, Jigten Sumgön said that whoever's body will come here after they have died, they will not go to the lower realms.
근데 다 로폰 로접시네 스타트킹가네 센데 노마다 신탱나래 신탱나요라. 근데 센데 노마 롱케다 바다 추에 추어베장 메타 이제 로발레 세콤 칸라 테네 원사치. 와다 센데 노바마 보리 스타레 콘트슈반 나바마 보리 라면라요. 다진 라면라요레. 와테 노바마 보리 롱나 말메나이레스. 다 롱나 말메테 유링보 바르토 마라테 나이레스. 와테 나이레스. 추에 추어베장 메타 다 추 추어도 다사 추어로나 차다 추어 미바테 나이코. 메타 테 나이고레스. 응응응로 응중 응어 니제 로바스 오 파다야 소르동토베 제토야다 양은이 로드 이 세토베 저소베 원사르 침보레 스티허 같은 맛이 같은 원사르 침보레 정도.
And then Nagarjuna said in a letter to a friend, there is so much harm to this life. One's life is just like a flame, a candle flame in the wind. It can be blown out at any moment. Or it is just like a water bubble that could burst at any moment. It is uncertain that you will inhale once more after your last exhalation. To wake up from sleep once again is truly incredible. It is very uncertain. So.
근데 단체발라 네바미스 로폰 파파시네스 된 로폰 파파 카르존선 파파신 로로바 라라 게탕 라라 숑 라라 차라 하베면 라라 제마 차도지 카제게 전치바 자람신 치조는 손보텐게 수기 차 스타스마로 샹드카 다들 콘스큐바티 바라리.
And then there is another quote by Nagarjuna, and it's quite similar as we mentioned before. So he says that death is certain. Some die when they're old, some die when they're young, some die as adolescents. So it is uncertain when you're going to die, but it is certain that anyone is going to die. Oh, and then he said, and some die once they are born, and some die when still in the wombs of their mothers. No one has any certainty of the timing of their death.
在那咸阳咱到点长流些听当中的是，这边基本其实咱基本咱这样的他的空虚吧呢，对吧？这是咱对的是用的怕这种个，那么忙不在用的伢说动的这种个嘞，咱说看的那朝往这些用的，什么这个里面在，实际伢都要嘛，是对伢是要嘛，唐伯节讲这个这，他们这样这个其实，我唐伯节的说这个这个，他们这样这个这个嘞。我在这对吧？这啥问题？那就那我不可惜啥的嘛，他们心着个嘞。浪漫节是我对浪漫看完这个，咱们忙不了，他说什么节着个，没怎么样嘛，你们看嘛，他说，3年嘛，你们家晓得，他没怎么说，要嘛的，他看中餐他也做的他强烈没上吃下去，这种都你们浪漫节的，我说的呢，看中餐他也做着说呢，他看中餐有人看中餐不？ 看完全部是吧？把中全部他跟扩张的难民呢，我等他没把抢着的是，可确实没说太难那一个，我要让他们抢着的是，中多啊，我等那些的，这让些电视一些，我再让些电视一些，没他电视一些这种我的也是，
Onpa tempura.
看中全部，他也送的，他抢的也没抢，确实是他抢的也把没抢，别自我修抢的是这抢多。 别想着他能量着自助在大街那，也没学家伙啥的，他这种没整那家别做嘛，同样学嘛了，看嘛学嘛了。
Then in the Sutra of the Foolish and the Wise, it says, whatever is born is going to die. So, and then whatever comes together will part. For example, we meet a lot of people in our lives, loved ones that we are always together with. But we will not always be together. We will not go everywhere together. There will come a time where we will separate. And then everything accumulated and will be scattered, will become exhausted. And everything raised will eventually collapse. For example, one Lama sang a song about that. So, for example, like a palace, a temple, a huge building, like Nalanda, for example, which was quite an illustrious building. All of that will turn to dust eventually. The most stable, magnificent, majestic house or palace will completely turn into dust, and sometimes not even its name will be left behind.
但其实是那龙球，是那龙球就拿龙球开的我呢，当年的这些是他都是几个那个吧，本讲这我但是说前部的年我的这忙不有吧，对，就是话是他边角的这几块的边角朗说是，说出不别要不这个那把要不我那对，我真的扎一那的，可说没感觉扎一那。 上班就过的什么样子？这一单说听着样子，要嘛听着样弄，听着样子要嘛的是，要嘛话的，那说怎么样不在当了，我这要嘛的是，他那让去绿茶没说吧，长没说吧，那没说吧，茶没说，长没说，健康没说吧，这样就，他那让说绿不呢，别没是咋听不这个的，第那他别没是哪些都是那他没按照谁等于那那说这几个话，我这没按照谁等于那第这偏他们去的那的。 差没说噻，他差吧的说哦，他差吧起不对，才能这样长跑就不当，前我啥子说，前没说都长跑当都讲嘛，他过没地几的是吧？可是我那都没地几的，我长没说啊，等我说这前我长完，那差了就我当，我听出钱了，我说， 我这真没做事，他这我住在卡拉么上的啊，这天天他出国就多送下去呢，他都图什么？是我的真不收头干嘛？这样就说他这下就下下嘛说的，这跟着什么是说是咋全部旅过的。我这那么这样没办法，那没事。我那天学个下见面呢，说那没来过是那么是学个样啥，学个见面说那有呢，一样的说的，确实弄的过嘛，就是的说的咱这样的我听着，那活动那去听我那在马过马弄的是，马是老是不弄的是的啦，那有的马是老会生的，那里沙滩没那里别种的，但那里沙滩干嘛子是？那里他我的是那么那我给的是，说当。لا نه setan nåla kom så där har gått ju något så av sina och det som då och det tänkte jag det jag inte till om att jo så det没把穷些扩大出什么来的但没把穷些扩大出啥的是他出他些啥把肉长嘛说下看谁往谁说对他出啥什么装不多的样子哦他真的是
And then so next year it says, and when the time of death has come, you will leave everything behind. You will leave behind all of your possessions, your relatives and friends, your spouses, all of your money, your youth, your beauty, everything, your enemies and friends, everything will be left behind. So now we may think, for example, I have good health or I'm good looking and so on. When the time comes, all of that is left behind. If you really think about it, we can really see. So even this body that we cherish so much will be of no use at the time of death. So right now, we cannot tolerate even the slightest physical discomfort. We cannot tolerate the slightest pain, the slightest heat, the slightest cold, or the slightest hunger or thirst. This body will be left behind. So, for example, now the body is most important to us. If we just feel a little bit sick, you have a little bit of pain, and just a little bit mostly, even if just a little pain, we immediately think, I feel so awful and I have to take some medicine. Or even if it's just a little bit hot, we say, oh, it's so hot today, turn on the AC. And that's if you have one. If you don't have one, then you just have to suffer through it. Or when it gets really cold, then very quickly we turn on the heater. Or if you didn't eat this morning, you think that I'm so hungry, I didn't eat anything, I can't take it, I have to eat something. So this precious body that we don't want to not to endure any suffering, we will leave it all behind. And then once that happens, once the body is left behind, it turns into a corpse that others will dispose of. Milarepa said that when one dies, some of the people left behind, some of them will cry, some of them will think about the wealth they left behind. So there will be some kind of reflection, some thought given to the deceased person, but eventually the scene will be cleaned up, the corpse disposed of, and then people move on with their lives. So.
哇，真的，这他呢，旅馆呢，他这里多确定弄的如果就是，这他对那旅馆的意思吧，那虽然嘛，同时希望嘛，他一把钱，我说他这他的旅，对了，他家出钱接去来的，他忙不接有的过，那现在俺嘛的，俺嘛电把俺大个肩膀你那个是的穷，他接的，肩膀你是那个是的，他出把 top 的过，俺嘛个的我拉不个肩膀你是那个是的。三面去满面朝双拉索，我在出发头的忙不接有做学生，他旅点通的旅游嘛的他，我见他们旅个虽然蛮通，希望嘛他一把钱我是他，给我钱是。
And so then, again, it says, so there's no one that is not going to die. Even the great masters have passed away. For example, in India, there were the 80 great Mahasiddhas, or in Tibet, we had the 25 great disciples of Guru Rinpoche, or in the new Tantric tradition, we had Marpa, Milarepa, Gampopa, and so forth. All of their bodies are nowhere to be seen. They've all left behind their bodies.
근데 다 센데 다르게 기반도 그냥 센데 메타 르잠바 내가 기본에 손나 티나데 그때 템포요 말에 생각나서 참지보트 템포요 말에 센데 메타 르잠바 치 소다 메타 르잠바 치인데레스 두바는 뭐치 또 도레스 초다 센데 뇨튼도 르잠바 치 조안다네 집에 제고 마토베 멘케 도베 트파뇨 소다네 어단我但是让把平常也是，我听人家七八说七八人那个说节我是那票的，我说马些把是那票的，那说节我马托呢，每个人都被推翻，每个人他好毛个把钱呢，也在都恰当我送提起然后推翻身，但我讲的是都把推翻，我特殊把牛的有的是说个嘛的，说没有咋钱包的，没有咋钱包的，推说多少的，说个嘛的，所以那恰当么送去，然后他就抢着不的是。
And then so the commentary then says, so then there's a text called, what's it called? So it's again, like the great kind of compendium of the Vinaya, and so in there it says. So one's life and the lives of friends will quickly pass by, just like a waterfall rushing down a mountain violently. And childlike beings, ordinary people, have not realized that. And they are sort of intoxicated, kind of crazed by their fierce attachments and unknowing ignorance, basically. And so what is okay? Yeah. So by their attachment, aversion, and they're being puffed up by pride. They do not understand the preciousness of this human existence, which will pass by so quickly. And they allow this precious human life to exhaust itself, to come to an end within a state of affliction, attachment, and aversion. Tempashi Parture.
是吧？当时我这他对起药呗，当时看了呀，大半没事。我对起他们是药吧的，药吧现在电报没把的，我电报没被学那些，对起求他们接的，但对起我这当时药吧的，大半没事。求根据南巴人接吧，罗塘电吧的，求他们接，但南巴人接吧，罗塘电吧都写给的是，他们写给嘛的是的，罗塘电吧，写了罗塘电吧，他说还过给的是。
And then it goes on to say this life, this body, is wavering. It's unstable. It can perish at any time. There's nothing stable to this life, and those with some intelligence will understand this.
我真的写上真的朗诵没差事。朗诵没他吧，是吧？朗诵也不结婚了，没能把也不结婚，这个结婚了，但也在给人这个，这朗诵没他，就往这个给，反正往这个，朗诵没差事。熊爸给帮助吧，这没这熊爸知道给光这呀，搁这看样嘛，可那个来讲着，没多少给讲吧，没多少上当个的上，但谁在讲，我没多少接着样嘛，我在那里打讲这个的是。没错，没怕要嘛，但说多要差多要嘛的个。
And then so our youth, our beauty, having like a strong body, all of that is impermanent. It changes moment by moment. Every moment it changes. From moment to moment, we turn from young to old, and there is no stopping the time. We slowly will age. We are aging continuously. And so it is just like we are just like a flower that will eventually wither in the frost. So as we age, and then there's no coming back for the flower.
我的这龙里是两多龙，这么有这两多，其他通多，按照就我加皮多，马哈这上前各位提来些，这里龙里是两多，有我们两多，
Yeah.
那就我的马哈嘛的上前各位提来是，经常龙里都是工作，这个点叫呢，这个点叫呢，这天最多，这个点叫呢，不就啊，小张的，什么叫出去的走人啊，迎春出国的人都两多。 这就真的，咱朗州没啥，手家大嘛，你是朗州的没啥吧的，这手的了，大块嘛的，是南面没啥，是南面没啥嘛的，我这手不对我呢，其实南我老常常，真的对我呢，上年对我没写脚嘛的，我这没啥事，但就说没啥的，是就说没啥的呢，但就说没啥的，这头去过呢，前面帮过交下的，这头帮过呢，前面去过交下的，我就说没啥的。
And so then next there's a reference to another text, a quote from another text, and in a small print it mentions the name. So the name of the text is the Mahamadi, which is a text called the blissful drop of the great secret. It comes from the Dege print in Tibet, and it's the volume 10 and page 365, section 360, yeah, section 6. Okay, so in that text, it says, youth is impermanent, and one's body also is not permanent. It is uncertain when you will get sick. Health is not a permanent state. For example, even in one day, it may change. For example, in the morning you feel great, and in the evening you get sick suddenly. And then it says also wealth is impermanent. For example, some people are very rich in the early parts of their life, and then they turn poor later on. Or some people who are very poor to begin with, then become very rich in the end. So things are uncertain.
Something match up this, what that my law had said, so that you can only. Juramata, Chuko, your topas on the bottom means. Kid and Son can work Pumbo, you young. There can up on by some use it, drag my chapter to toss on the mobile.
This is that Tortona di Song the North. Benjamin Matapari, Pumbo Matapari, Nora.
Non Juramatabaris, Chupo, so topas on a bottom by your race. What is North Pumbo, Jachin, Jean Laquaton Basson, something match up.
And then that same quote continues. So it says that so everything is impermanent. Once, for example, once profit and wealth accumulated in business can be taken by an enemy and you end up empty-handed.
我老花东半周是上面没下的是吧？我真的老，这上面没下他就抢着的是的。
Oh yeah, so basically it says it is incredible how it goes.
我到老婆洗完来是他洗完来这种是吧？你把忙不头脚讲有人听这几讲全部讲究那的，我讲究那真的全部超吧，切心都这么的话东半周是，但你把他拿一把忙不在套那，那有人不这是俺说基本当我才行用了，全部超吧，这对全部在切换的，切换超吧才行就是，切换超从哪里这是帮搞强州的人是。这么的话东半周是我提的呢，他在那里的是就变成康阳去主要嘛是。但那土老了康阳要嘛，这么先接触那种土老没叫是过去啥的，拉话东半周是，面子这样着开头有嘛，往那出去的，这强州的种是。
And then the quote continues. Oh, it's not a quote actually. It's a quote by Shantideva, and he said, all the things that we have gained, all of our possessions, we may enjoy them for a long time. Eventually, maybe a thief will steal them from us, or they will leave us completely, and we will end up empty-handed with nothing left behind, just like being stripped completely naked.
哦，真的，到咸阳是，其中咸阳是，但是这个点叫南都在那他不家的你家算嘛，我这里是在那么去看到是，好像拉萨高完呢，好像在苏州高我媳妇去在就那边叫的，看的那什么高我那去，就是说先看完，就是说什么先看完就是，别讲的张嘛张是，别是张是啥是，张嘛是别张是啥的是。刚来家就还是张次先去就办通，张次先去做办通的事。这张次先去就办通，然后的是，我做朋友你嘛才有的，这次也有了，这次还过不了去嘛？这次都充满被咋个的充满有了，哦，充满被可在空钱不啥都花起来，但个公开啥上花起晓得吧？这没种他老多他开门路。啥子个啥子会个来看这家呢？我这几块的呢，张次先就要听。
And there's another text. 이게 뒷민가를.
도他得给边叫我中意那都是。
Oh, so yeah, we don't know the name of the text, but it comes from the.
你家的。
Yeah.
Song.
If you ever looking for it, so it's the Dergye a print of the treatises, which is you can find it in volume 203 on page 101, section 7. And so in that text, it says you may enjoy your wealth and possessions for a long time and intensely. You may enjoy it very, very much. Eventually, your possessions other people may enjoy them instead of you, basically. So, for example, it is just like a honeybee working hard to collect the honey, but then someone else actually eats the honey, not the honeybee. Or in Tibet, for example, we have mice, and sometimes they get into the doma, which is like little dried sweet potatoes that what they collect. So it's a lot of hard work to collect those doma, those sweet potatoes. They're very small, they're dried. Sometimes the mice get into those doma bags and they eat it, and so basically make it useless for us. And then people feel upset about it. They feel I've worked so hard to get those sweet potatoes, and now the mice, they ate them all. So what you work for with great effort may be enjoyed by someone else.
真的咱这些没差吧？是这咱不这出没没差吧？是吧？ Mata lopon shiva le shine, za shiva le song res. Tenji jibi, sha tang ru, chede so son rojan, zaba nam jang mo, men zaba nam jang mo jibu se. Nga zo tenji jide, da so tenji jide, sha da ruba tsorwa, te soma che dong rogo res. Ten zaba la, zaba sen pen jang dong, da so choko chomo la so ba tsorwa, ten la ma go ba res. Men za sen na, da dra dong, da yorwa ten ru. Jidang me yang dra men jo ten ru yorwa, da kari na men na, tsu soma la. O tene, la ma go ba, che go res da.
And then another quote by Shantideva. He says that so whatever is like with us, we will separate from it. So what is with us is our body of flesh, blood, and bones, and we will separate from that. Since we will even separate from our own body, there's no need to mention other people, like our friends, our relatives, our loved ones. So.
근데 다 초제 신은 제도 다 초제 수는 파모 좋아요. 오케이, 대송의 지편 장송 다와시. 아, 뭐 그런 자들 년기 원해서라.这真拿三个人说这没啥来来，我这些说呢，这当着是这说这些草嘛，他在头的，我说就我听，他们区别就明白的，这真就差的我这种多啊。这当然，康家东北们就是康家东北们就是，但是这跟他说，起码没他了，没起码是这个说头嘛的，什么叫做是？This.
And then it says that the Dharma Lord said, and so that's likely Pamudrupa. And so he said that impermanent, it is just like a child, we're like a child looking at a beautiful rainbow. This is how our loved ones, our friends are. They are this beautiful rainbow seen by a child, meaning that we will eventually separate, the rainbow will go away. And everything will become empty and no one can do anything about it. So we can't turn that around or change that fact.
真的，他老婆媳妇的是讲究那是吧？我都讲究那还是那当你每年都是，但我让说那的，那年也都还去了吧？这年也都还去，一年忙不他过是的，一年生的，他年些忙不他，年生呢不讲着么的，出没拉说，他说忙不他过，说配就把说话的，当你基本，但西亚东岸是说几个牛的是，把说说牛他妈的，不讲是说的，说几个牛样的是，当你基本牛完就是。年第一次开始那年几篇，一年一年就是变多了嘛。这些说那么解决，那随便给的，那这说那么咋用的？这一篇给的，谁知道？说给我做，这说那么咋？这其中那这篇有的是，大家在嘛？我这个给我在，大家我在 drop 透明的，这是个来靠谱的意思的。
And then Shantideva said in the Bodhicharyavatara, when I lie in my deathbed and I'm surrounded by my loved ones, my family and friends, they surround me and they care for me, but they cannot feel the pain of dying as I feel. It is that the pain of dying is a feeling that only I can experience. They cannot help me in that moment. The only thing that will help me is the merit I have created. And nothing else will be of any use at that time.
真的，他这种东西，种看了啥吧？他节省张嘛头，先看样嘛了，他给我啥呢？给我节省张人是，对我啥呢？对我节省张是，别的你不是节省张样嘛头，这个看样他节省张出嘛的是，给人这个对我用啊，没给人这个东岸用呀。我这天你不是就话没把事，真的说节省张个的是。
And then it says, if I have accumulated virtue, then I will follow this way. If I have accumulated, if I have committed a lot of non-virtue, a lot of misdeeds, then I will go down this way. So if I have if I have produced a lot of virtue, it will lead to happiness. If I have produced a lot of non-virtue, it will lead to suffering. And this is the path I will go. And there is no change to that. There's nothing that can be done about it.
tene 다스 로폰 파파스 루롭송 사바 퇴진이야데 제본도 줘나 농촌 자산 예시지 지외ተ나 간에 간로 내내 정말신도 돼서 퇴지다 퇴소자 제로즈래나 아 제로즈 주변저 망보여로 와제로 주변저 망보여리 네 이년데 초보 총모들라서 마음도 꾸송 망보제 여러봐 뒤참만 편도 가야 말았어 제로 코나지 본도 요레스 간로양스 저거 그나 가렌조나 레스 트마신지 레스 냠세 오늘 그나 조나자는 지금 대화다 조나 마사는 지금 동안요하다 저거 그나 제로야 마토자 되면 다 그나 그세 밤메센 정도다 롱방 가려나 세대세 그서 마음라서 서마다 그나 냠 로토 말에 레스 마토
And then Nagarjuna had said that when the time has come for the king, then even the king must go, and nothing will follow the king, not his family and friends, not his subjects or servants, not his protectors like his bodyguards, and so on. None of it will be of any benefit. The only thing that will follow the king is the king's karma. That will follow him like a shadow. So depending on the king's karma, there will be this shadow of either happiness or suffering following him. But none of his retinue, friends, or protectors will be able to follow him.
等那罗空西瓦来种的话，他提那龙空子的马人建成嘛，我提那人都是在西瓦来种的你嘛算是，我这个本等于这部家的就从你那的人都是种的话，头发他们去马人建成嘛，这提的话我没路着送，我真的头发他们去对的当时，大个头发真的就变成那啥的，我大个头发问我呢，几乎可惜。 로로지 다 라지 부카레나 더 로그레스 게베 초서 담마 니지 통도 통함 저 스타트 마존 동하트서
So then in the text it says there is a quote by Shanti Deva, but also Drupa wasn't able to locate this this tag, also this quote precisely, but then there is another quote from the from Nagarjuna's precious garland of advice, and so that's also in the DRG edition, and the volume 172 on page 118 in section 5, and so there's this quote. So it's in the Nagarjuna's text, but in there is a quote by Shantideva, and so so then like part of that quote is let's go on. So all of one's possessions will be left behind. Nothing cannot take a single thing with you.
랑지 본로그레스 카르보나 소마샤네 랑지 본로그레스 게베 초스타쇼나 카르보다오나데 소소 냠티용그레스 리브
Yeah, so it's similar. So you leave everything worldly behind, and if you have accumulated virtue, then that is what you can bring with you.
근데 다 소남 도화 주변도 세팅나 소남 사나 대화토 제일 매에 소남 사스 대연 양 사 다 지관적으로 다 세마 시장 되사 대연 양의 뒤에 차스
Then there's another sutra called the sutra expressing the realization of merit, And so in there, it's also similar. It says that having accumulated merit, this is what will lead to happiness after in the future. So for this reason, people should accumulate merit again and again, keep continuing to accumulating merit.
真的这点求顺着吧，咱没他光别钱的老多吧些个，这钱的先价是多多过去，老多些呢，那说老多些那么多，这几趟起码没啥子就要不简单的这专注没几种网友嘛，那说，你们俩去啊专注去特别的，但这就没钱的我说你们俩去啊专注去特别嘛的，这样就真的是钱的老多，钱的给他这先价是话老多特别啊，真的老多吧些个，钱的老多呢。多半的了，基本情况那么样，所以说他这地老多，说那基本情况，当那么样的事呢，那么样基本钱赚穷中没落下，但穷苦那么样子的也是啦，说是。
So then this is the way for the mind to turn towards the Dharma. It is to reflect upon death and impermanence. And reflecting on death and impermanence, to leave behind concerns for this life, giving up concerns for this life. And this is the path of one with a lower, kind of an inferior mental capacity. So it is kind of the foundation. It is the practice of the four thoughts that turn the mind. And you think about death and impermanence, then you cannot help but practice with diligence. But if you don't think about it, you will not be diligent in practice. So if you understand death and impermanence, you will give up the attachment to this life. And so the Lamrim speaks about three kinds of individuals: those with a higher, middling, and lower mental capacities. And so one who is at least able to give up concern for this life is one of the lower mental capacity.
真的他这卡尔节那讲每件他妈的谁件他妈清楚，他谁件他妈的全真通透，那些人个其他通透嘛哇，清楚件通是年长年都去，这咱他国的讲无人我级别就是，搞是全嘛透。家堂工他全嘛透明白，这些的透了下不去，是他他妈东西的噻。
Shiva Kablara.
那这
그래.
카르제 장스 카르제 나스 테남 카르제 나 메진 타마다 제사나 시야요로 제나스 테 카르제 나테네 아타 메진 타마데 지나 수포도 진지 첨보로 안가라서 메진 타마데 니레스 메진 타마사 니사티 타마데스다 타마데 세진 타마 춘토다 춘루 메이스몬 상와시라 사토마 라파다 我清楚的，年度上年的泰国讲，无人我是我怕当对错节嘛，做白个来多啊，些人看，我这挺就有的，你提高了看到是那家庭工的，他去嘛头嘛，这要不投了下落去，三级跟种这种的。
And so then it says when you reach your final moments, lying in your deathbed, this will be the last time you lie there. This will be the last time and you have a bite of food or a drop of water to drink. And it will be the last time being surrounded by your family and friends. It will be the last breath you take. And once the last long breath is expelled, it is not coming back. And so at this time, only the Dharma will be a protector to you. Therefore, keep this in mind.
真的，他这也他求是罗啊，是他这送啥？他这里马求南头罗啊，是这里，他这里去他就是七路进的这个啥？当然是七路就是唐伯去看，是吧？这去，他跟嘛中央啥？那个发生当过那确实是上当个那跟嘛中央是面气候的提出西向的这个，当然呢，这种那个好像有的话，当刚有点没去那，这样理从的了。
So And this completes the first part, the first Dharma of turning the mind toward the Dharma. And next, we come to how we can turn that Dharma into the path. We will talk about that later in the afternoon and to end 15 minutes earlier. So we will come back for the teachings at 1:30 Chicago time.
시카고 주소로 시카고 주소 담보 치카.
Yeah, 1:30 Chicago time.
OK. 那这里可行。呀，几点钟我们就OK。
Words, holy, venerable, precious, kind, rude, and lineage lamas, divine assembly of Edams, and assembly of Buddhas, Bodhisattvas, yogis, yoginis, and dakinis dwelling in the 10 directions. Please hear my prayer. May the virtues collected in the 3 times by myself and all sentient beings in samsara and nirvana, and the innate root of virtue, not result in the 8 worldly concerns, the 4 causes of samsara, or rebirth as Sharvaka or Pratika Buddha. May all mother sentient beings, especially those enemies who hate me and mine, obstructors who harm, misleading Maras, and the hordes of demons, experience happiness, be separated from suffering, and swiftly attain unsurpassed, perfect, complete, and precious Buddhahood. By the power of this vast root of virtue, may I benefit all beings through my body, speech, and mind. May the afflictions of desire, hatred, ignorance, arrogance, and jealousy not arise in my mind. May attachment to fame, reputation, wealth, honor, and concern for this life not arise for even a moment. May my mind stream be moistened by loving kind, 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 by loving. Can you? Yeah. Lynn, are you there? Lynn, can you test the sound for us? Is it okay?
Oh, yes, you can hear the sound now, yes.
Does it sound okay?
It's still in the computer. Let's do this.
Is this okay?
Can you say something?
I'm saying something like Lynn, because we are testing different different ways in the computer to see which is the best.
Oh, the sound is very good right now.
Is this okay? Or I'm just
It's very good.
okay, I'm just keep on making some noise. Yeah, is this okay? Is this okay?
Oh, we cannot hear her now.
You cannot hear. What do you mean? They cannot hear? Can you hear?
We cannot hear them.
I
Oh,
can hear you, but it's echoey, a little bit echoey.
It's echoing.
So same
Just a little bit of reverb, but it's okay
Okay,
still,
okay.
not bad.
still not.
Still not? Is this okay?
Too quiet.
This okay? Lin, can you hear? You mean we cannot hear from them?
Speaker.
Okay.
Same system.
Same, but what? How did we do it before?
I don't know, it was somewhere there, but now I can.
Huh? But just now was okay, right?
You shut it down and reopen, it seems to reset stuff. But-
Reset.
Still in the computer.
Like that, it
How about on Friday? How was the Friday teaching? Was it clear?
It wasn't clear because we couldn't figure that out.
Okay.
Can you say something?
Okay, Lin, can you say something? Can you hear us?
hold on, if you may hold, I can hear you, yes.
You can hear
Keep
it.
chanting.
Keep
Oh.
chanting. Is it clear?
Yes.
Can you hear me clearly?
Very clearly.
Okay, it's clear. So then what's the problem? If they can hear the problem,
Is it clear?
it's clear, right? Lin, is this clear?
I hear you clearly.
Okay, I cannot hear you, Lin.
You cannot hear me?
Okay, now I can hear you. Now I can hear you.
But
Yes.
it's on computer only.
Is it in the computer?
We
Okay,
leave it
okay,
like
now I
this.
understand the
We
problem.
leave it like this.
Okay, we leave it like this?
Yeah.
Okay.
We cannot figure it out.
Okay,
Yeah,
Lin,
sounds good. It sounds good, Nicole.
sounds good?
Yeah,
Okay.
really.
How are you?
Okay. Elizabeth, do you want to like verify the thing? You want to verify your account?
Yeah.
Elizabeth.
Yes, I'm here. We can do that.
Okay, how do we do that?
Maybe let's get off Zoom, or I don't know what's the best.
Yeah. Okay, we can get out of the Zoom then. Okay, I think the YouTube you stopped, right? YouTube.
You're still on YouTube.
I thought YouTube stopped, right?